I'm finally mostly moved in on my new computer with my Ryzen 9 9950X and my GPU with triple the VRAM and about triple the floating point compute of my old one. So obviously the first thing I'm going to do is boot up the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim and start a new character save for about the 85th time. Now, that was sort of a joke, but there is one user interface feature slash gameplay feature in Skyrim that has been bouncing around my mind as a potential video topic for a very long time now. And I figured that I'd finally actually sink some time into doing it because I do think it's quite interesting. So if you look at the top of the screen of this here Skyrim game, we have what I like to call the ribbon compass, and I don't actually know what everyone else calls it. I've never heard it given an actual name besides like a compass. I can't really call it a mini map because it's not really a map, although it does show you where things are. And this is a handy. Lydia, can you like not? I'm trying to record a video here. I swear, NPCs in this game are like dogs. They always manage to stand in exactly like the right place for you to trip over them. But anyway, I do think the compass in Skyrim is quite an interesting user interface feature. It's probably my favorite way to actually do a compass or even a minimap in games that I've seen so far, because it's easy to read. Like if something is showing up in the middle of the compass, then it's straight away in front of you, and if something's off to the side, then you know you have to turn your head in order to like look in that direction. But it's a little more convenient than a minimap, I think, because it's easier to parse, and also minimaps sometimes come with the drawback that like they will show things on the map that you might want the player to discover for themselves. Although there are plenty of ways to design a minimap, but that's a subject for another day. So if you're not familiar with this game, one, how, and B, I'm just going to run around a little bit and we can see how it behaves. So if I were to run towards a landmark that hasn't been discovered, it will turn from like black on the compass to white. If I were to find something to fight, hey you, guard. If you find something to fight, the guard's health bar, or the enemy's health bar, will show up in underneath the compass, which isn't part of the compass mechanism itself, but also they will gain their own little red circle of aggression on the compass, and you will be able to see where enemies are. And I think it's a alright, this is more entertaining to watch than maybe it should be. It's quite handy. Anyway, this user interface feature is not unique to Skyrim. I have seen it in other games, least of all other Bethesda games. So let's sit down and figure out how we can do this in GameMaker. So if I open up my sample project, I've implemented basically what we're going to have by the end of this video. So for starters, we've got north, south, east, and west are marked on the compass to go with like our positive X, positive Y directions. And also some of the like objects in this 3D scene are just marked out with an X on the compass, which you can imagine is like the red dots of aggression when you set a guard on fire or that sort of thing. And this is what we're going to have by the end of the video. So this is obviously a 3D gaming GameMaker mechanic. You don't really need to know that much crazy 3D math in order to do this. Most of what we're going to be looking at today is just going to deal with like angles and that kind of thing. There are multiple ways you can achieve this. If you really want to go the like hardcore 3D route, you can sort of like projection of 3D points into like normalized device coordinates and then map that onto the ribbon compass at the top of the screen. But I think that's going to be overkill for what we're going to want to achieve here, so I'm not really going to go down that route. To draw the compass itself on the top of the screen, I'm going to be taking advantage of some Nineslice sprites. This is a very basic, just like MS Painty looking sprite with two end pieces and the middle piece, which is just going to be stretched using GameMaker's Nineslice system. If you've never used these before, Nineslices are extremely cool. I've got a video where you can go and learn about them. Anyway, where do I want to start? So I think I'm going to go into, let's go create a new script, and I'm just going to call this draw compass. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to start by just drawing the compass sprite on the top of the screen, and then we'll gradually add stuff onto that. And I'm going to give the draw compass function some coordinates, which are going to be the compass X, compass Y, compass half width, and compass half height. So we're going to be looking at basically the center X and Y coordinates of the compass and the half width and half height. You could go with like an X1, X2, Y1, Y2 coordinates if you want, but I found that this makes for slightly less code, so I'm going to do that instead. I'm going to go into obj_camera. If I go into the draw GUI event, we can say, I'm just going to go with the coordinates that I worked out ahead of time. You could change these coordinates to put them somewhere else on the screen if you prefer, but compass X is going to be window get width divided by 2. Var compass Y is going to be, let's just make that hard-coded to 48. Var compass half width is going to be 320. Var compass half height is going to be 16. So these are the half width and height. So in total is going to be 640 by 32 sprites. And the compass sprite is going to be drawn stretched between them. And then we can just say draw compass X, compass Y, half width and half height. So that's all I'm going to do in obj_camera.draw GUI. Everything else that we do is going to live inside this draw compass function. We can start, let's say, by drawing the sprite itself. Draw sprite stretched. The sprite is going to be SPR compass. Subimage is going to be 0. X. So draw sprite stretch does want like an x1, x2, and a width and a height instead of the center x and the half width, half height like I've got here. To figure out those values, I'm going to want to say compass x minus half width. That's not half width. Half width compass y minus half height. The width is going to be the half width times 2, and the height is going to be the half height times 2, and that is just going to draw the 9 sprite, the 9 sliced sprite at the top of the screen. There's going to be no like text in it, no location markers or anything like that. But we've now got the ribbon itself. All right. So the next thing that I think I'm going to do is going to be to figure out the cardinal directions, the north, south, east, and west. And I'm just going to draw the the letters N, S, E, W on the compass for north, south, east, and west. So the way that I've got my 3D coordinate system here is that, like in GameMaker terms, north is going to be 90 degrees. So looking up in the room editor, if you will, where's the room? So like we're going to be looking down on the XY plane. We're using positive Z as our up direction, and then like north is going to be plus 90 degrees in GameMaker angles, west is going to be plus 180 degrees, south is going to be 270, and east is going to be 0. Just a small obligatory warning for coordinate systems: if you are using a different coordinate system, or if you're using the same coordinate system but with a different handedness. This would, for example, be positive Z up, left-handed. You might have to slightly modify the direction calculations that we're going to do to figure out where things are. And you could possibly make the argument that, given this, it might be easier to like project the 3D points into normalized device space and then map them onto the compass, like I mentioned. But if you know how to do that, you probably don't need to watch this video to figure it out. And also, because this is GameMaker and because sometimes you have to do funny things to make things work, if you're using a negative field of view or aspect ratio, which I guess I am in this system, if you're using like some kind of funny field of view and aspect ratio to make the camera stand up in the right direction, then you might also have to change some things around. But I'm pretty sure this is the same like default camera that I've been using for a majority of these 3D and GameMaker videos, so I don't think that's going to be too much of a concern. Anyway.
Hey.
Let me define 2 north is going to be 90, var 2 south is going to be 270, var 2 east is going to be 0, and var 2 west is going to be 180. Again, this corresponds to the directions that you would imagine that north, south, east, and west are relative to the GameMaker room editor. I'm also going to say var player angle is going to be obj_player.look direction. This is the forward direction. This is the angle of the forward direction for our first-person camera. So if the player is looking to the east, this value is going to be 0. If the player is looking to the north, this value is going to be 90, so on and so forth. Next, I'm going to say var angle to... we'll deal with north first, and then the rest of the cardinal directions will follow. I'm going to use a function here, which is angle difference. And angle difference is going to return an angle in degrees between negative 180 and positive 180, which is basically going to compare 2 different angles. And the angle that we're going to compare is going to be 2 north and the player angle. This function is going to return a value that you could add on to the second angle to get to the first angle, which isn't a hard thing to work out for your own, admittedly. But the convenient thing about the angle difference function is that it always returns a value between -180 and +180, so you don't have to worry about like weird wraparound 360 degrees, that kind of thing. So, I guess it wouldn't hurt for me to go into a little more detail about exactly how these values are drawn. So, the way I've set it up in the sample project is that the direction that you're going to be looking is in the middle of the screen, like I mentioned. But the direction that is 90 degrees to the left or right of you are going to be approximately around the end of this compass sprite. So north, if we're looking directly east like this, if we're looking due east, north is going to be 90 degrees to our left. I waved my hand and almost knocked something off my desk. And you can see that the N for north on the compass is like almost falling off the edge. And then if I turn a little to the south, it's going to just disappear. Same for south on the other side. It's hanging off the, it's basically in the rightmost triangle. 90 degrees to my right, and if I turn a little bit to the north, it's going to disappear. So saying that out loud, some of you may be able to guess how we're going to map this angle difference onto the sprite. So firstly, I can say if the absolute value of the angle to north is less than 90, so if the angle to north is less than -90, or if it's greater than +90, we're just not going to do anything with that value. Only if it's in the range of -90 to +90. Next, I'm going to take a fraction. I'm going to define a fraction, and that's going to be the angle to north divided by 90. So now this angle difference is going to have a value between -1 and +1. This is sort of like normalizing a 1D vector if you've got a weird math sense of humor. Anyway, with this value in between -1 and +1, the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to scale this up to the half width of the compass. So if I take the fraction and multiply it by the compass half width, this is now going to have a value of -half width to +half width. And from here, we can just use this value as a horizontal coordinate relative to the compass center position to draw the text. So if I say var text x equals compass x minus scaled, and again, this is going to be minus or plus depending on your coordinate system and whether or not you're doing anything funny with the field of view and aspect ratio of your 3D GameMaker camera, because GameMaker reasons. Var text y is just going to be the compass y. I'm not going to offset the the north or the south or any of the symbols on the compass vertically, depending on whether or not it's above or below you, or whether or not you're looking up or down or anything like that. You can if you want. Skyrim doesn't really do that. Most implementations of a ribbon compass like this that I've seen don't really do that. So I'm not going to do it either. And lastly, draw set color C_white to make it stand out a little bit against the the black sky and the half gray compass sprite. And we can draw text. The X is going to be text X, the Y is going to be text Y, and the string is just going to be north. And I think I'm also going to want to draw set H align FA center. I forget what the default horizontal and vertical align for text in GameMaker is. I want to say it's left, top left, so we'll need to set the horizontal alignment as well. All right. So if I run this now, and if I get my bearings, let's see. North is I believe that is not north. I seem to have missed a I'm going to guess that I've accidentally negated a value or something somewhere in my code, or maybe I've flipped around two arguments. Oh, you know what I do remember discovering when I was setting up the sample project is that I think the actual look direction for the player is negated. I don't know if it was always like this, going back to way back when I started doing 3D and GameMaker videos, or if this was something that I changed when I demoed a third-person camera and then never changed back. The player's looking direction is opposite what you would expect it to be, if you printed out the values. This is a little embarrassing to discover all these years later, but I'm gonna want to negate the x from plus camera distance times cosine, y from minus camera distance times cosine. I'm gonna guess that this is something I changed when I did the third-person camera, because for something like that, you would want to switch around the cameras, x from, y from, x2, y2, that kind of thing. And then I just, like, forgot to change it back, and it never came up again. And if I do that, I'm also gonna want, I think, am I gonna want to also negate the, like, the player WASD controls too? I think I am. Let me just run this now. So looking around works, but if I hit forward, I do go backwards, and if I do go in the opposite direction. North is on the right, going in the right direction right now, which is good. But I am going to want to negate, like, the movement direction. Like this. And that should have me going in, like, the right direction again. Alright, that was very silly. Let me try this now. So I can move around again, like normal. Everything's going in the right direction. The world still looks the right way around, so I didn't have to mess with the coordinate system, but north is now actually to the north of us instead of to the south of us. Alright. If I ever redid those early 3D and GameMaker videos, I would probably, like, not just keep doing a saved as over the old projects every time I did a new video, because that's tends to be how errors like that creep in, but oh well. Anyway, so this is north. If you wanted to do another direction, we could likewise say angle to south, and then we could say angle difference to south the player angle, and then we could basically copy and paste this and do it again for all four of the other cardinal directions, and then we could, like, update the values here and there. I am not tremendously a fan of copying and pasting a large amount of code like this, so I'm just gonna do this as a quick sanity check to make sure that things are being drawn in the correct locations. I feel like it would be better if I also draw set v-align, so that the letters north, south, east, and west are going to be also center aligned with the vertical center of the compass. Anyway. Rather than copying and pasting this a bunch of times, these blocks of code are going to be almost the same thing for everything that I'm going to draw on the compass, which means that we really can just make this its own function. Function draw compass text, I'm going to call it. This is going to take a couple of arguments. One, I think, is going to be compass x, compass y, compass width, the angle, and the text that we're going to draw. So this is going to be similar arguments to the original draw compass function, but we're only going to have ones that are rather, we're going to have some additional ones that relate to, like, the text and the location of the text that we're going to draw. Let's see. I'm going to take this. I'm going to copy that in there, and we can generalize this a little bit. So if the angle to whatever is less than 90 degrees, rather than hard coding angle to north, south, whatever, we can just, we can use the angle that was passed to this function. The compass half width, I gave that a slightly shorter variable name this time around, because I don't feel like typing that out. And the text that we're going to draw, instead of just drawing a specific string, we can draw the text variable that was passed to this function. And now, instead of doing all this a bunch of times, we can say draw compass text, the compass x, compass y, compass half width, the angle to north, and the text is going to be just the letter N. And we can do this again for south, like this. If I wanted to do east and west, we could make some new variables for the angle difference for each of these, use the correct variables for each of them, and we can draw a few more lines of compass text. So north, south, east, and west. That looks like everything that I want at the moment. I'm going to run the game, and we should have all four cardinal directions being drawn on the compass at the top of the screen relative to where I'm looking right now. So south is in this direction, west is negative x off the origin of the room, north negative y off the top of the room. All right, all that looks good. The first time I did something like this in GameMaker back in like probably 15 or 16, I thought this was something that was going to be like really hard to do, and it actually just turned out to be just like a couple of lines of code. And like back then in GMS1, it was a little more complicated to create a bunch of functions like this because scripts and functions and stuff in GameMaker were kind of a mess back then. But yeah, this is what, 35 lines of code? It's pretty great. So, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple of generic markers. I'm not going to have like NPCs and drawing red dots over their heads on the compass the way that like the fully featured thing in Skyrim and other games do. I'm just going to do one more thing, and from there you should be able to like extend it as far as you'd like to go. However, if you want to stop the video now and you want to try and implement something like that on your own, feel free to do that and let me know exactly how you do it. I am curious to see how other people would approach this. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to create myself a new object. I'm just going to call this obj_compass mark. I'm going to uncheck the visible box because I don't need it to be visible. I don't even really need the object to do anything. I just need it to like exist so that I can throw it around in the room editor. So if I just if I create obj_compass mark here, and if I go into the room editor for room 0, and if I were to go and the tile layer is being drawn over the instances, which makes it a little hard to actually place instances in the room editor. But if I were to switch those around and just drag one of these compass marks around. So if I put this, let's say here, which I want to say is where the boat is going to spawn. And let's say we'll drag another one like way out here, and that's going to, I don't know, represent like a landmark or something that you could walk up to and discover. Should I do a third? I'll do a third. It's going to be, how about, I don't want to have them too close together. Let's put the third one all the way out in like the other corner of the room. And we'll have 3, I guess for lack of better words, landmarks that we can see on the compass. So if I go back here, I'm going to just say with obj compass mark, and this is going to, the with statement in GML is honestly probably like my favorite bit of syntax that doesn't really exist in most other languages. So this is just going to go and do a specific, it's going to loop over every instance of obj compass mark basically and execute the code within the scope of that instance. Hey. And I can say the direction to mark, actually I'm just going to call it to_mark because that's going to make it look like these other variables up here. This is going to be point direction from obj player.x obj player.y to the x and y coordinates of each obj compass mark instance. If I save our angle to mark equals angle difference, angle 1 can be to mark, angle 2 can be player angle. So the other nice thing about the with statement in GameMaker is that it will set the scope of the currently executing code to like each instance as it loops over them, but previously defined local variables will still exist within that scope, so I can access player angle even though it was defined locally in like outside this with statement. Anyway, next we're just gonna say draw compass text compass x compass y compass half width. The angle is going to be angle to mark, and for the text that we're going to draw, I'm just going to draw an X. I'm not going to draw like a sprite symbol or anything like that. Again, if you want to extend this to work with sprites, it's pretty easy to do so. If you want to extend this to work with sprites and have them light up when you approach them, or when you discover them or whatever, again, it's pretty easy to do that. I am going to have the game start not in focus for whatever reason, and if I run around here. So the mark that we left around the boat, that was actually pretty close to it. Not exactly, but it's pretty close to like the maidenhead of the ship. So if I were to like strafe around the ship, we can see the mark as you would expect. If I look off in this direction, so there's the one compass mark that was like out here-ish, and if I get closer, it'll swing around me a little bit. But because my angle relative to it changes a lot faster if I'm closer to it. And the mark that was all the way off in the opposite corner of the room from the origin is here. So that's pretty cool. So that's all I really have here. Definitely let me know if you've implemented something like this on your own and if you've done it differently. I messed around with a couple different ways of doing this, and this was the simplest way that I was able to figure out for this video, but it definitely should be possible to do this in other ways. Let me know if you've implemented any other fun related things to this, like tagging these things to an NPC for like a quest giver or an enemy or something like that. Again, this sort of ribbon compass is probably my favorite way of like giving the player like navigational information in a first person or even a third person game. I think as a player, I usually like this more than a conventional minimap. Unless I guess I was playing a game where like geographical information was actually an important thing to know. Anyway, that's gonna do it. My name is Michael. I like Wizards and Dragons and making games. If you want the code for this, look for the GitHub repository down in the description of the video. If it's not there, bother me about it, because sometimes I forget to post them. You should all go check out Wizarducks and the Lost Hat, which is one of the games that I like to work on when I'm not doing YouTube stuff. Link to the Steam page can be found down below. I hope you all enjoyed that, and if you'll excuse me, I am going to return to spending an irresponsible amount of time playing Skyrim again. Special thanks to Zenjamin, Squarecrow, Spy Games, Manta Ray, Ganymede Ghost, GameMaker, Edward Holt, and DJ Gibbles for supporting these videos. If you'd like to join their ranks, head on over to the Patreon page down in the video description to join the fun.